So one thing, guys, is I talk about China so much, I might as well just take a plane and go move in China, okay? Now, overall, I love studying people and learning from people. So when I discovered the Chinese basically save a bunch of money, I wanted to find out, how do these people save so much money? What is the secret, and what can I take from their formula to put into my formula to make me a lot more money, okay? I don't care who you are. If you know something that I don't know, I want to know about it. So here's the big fact that I discovered, okay? Apparently, for every dollar a Chinese worker makes, they save around 33 cents. That might not sound like a big deal, but that is a big deal, because for every dollar that we make, we go ahead and save about 6 cents, okay? And that's pretty crazy. And I also want to clarify one thing, guys. If you're watching this video and you're saying, Tommy, you shouldn't involve politics and countries in your video, the answer is, this video is not about China, and it's not about United States. It is about personal finance. It is about Tommy, Paul, Elijah, Donald, and also Pablo. By the way, those are my subscribers. Those are you guys, okay? So whatever I can learn from anywhere across this planet to bring to you guys to save you money, the point is I will bring it to you. But this is not about politics. It is about just strategic money. And money is green, and it does not care who you are. And by the way, we have a goal. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers. So do me a favor, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get notified. More content on investing, passive income, and everything else. On the top of that, also do me a favor, guys, and destroy the like button. Now, the very first thing, guys, is here are the facts that we always hear when it comes to us right here in America. First, we hear the average American lives paycheck to paycheck. The average American has around $6,000 in credit card debt. On top of that, the average person with student loan debt has around $30,000 in debt. And we spend more money than anybody else on the planet. Now, whenever you hear that picture, it's kind of like, yeah, we're not that good at all, okay? This is terrible. But overall, I don't want to make a video where it makes us sound like we're terrible, we're not good at anything, because it's not true. Because aside from that, we have one of the highest salaries, okay, in the entire planet. So it's kind of like, for example, although you make $1 and you save 33 cents of it, I make like 4 or 5 times more money than you do. So my 6% is actually a lot more dollar-wise. So that's also important. We also have a bunch of opportunities here. We have one of the strongest economies, and on top of that, the average millionaire in America is also first generation. That means there is a lot of movement as far as you can go from being broke to being rich in one generation, and to me, that is awesome. So I always want to put that into perspective, because I hate when people come on videos and be like, okay, America's not great, we suck, blah, blah, blah. No. We're pretty good, but there are things we can improve on as individuals to basically make us a lot better. And overall, if there's one thing that I get in my head when I read all those averages, is that basically, as long as I'm not average, okay, everything is gonna be fine. And if you're watching this video right now, you're not average, because the average person is living paycheck to paycheck, bunch of debt, all this stuff. They are not here right now. But if you are in that situation right now and you're watching this video, well, you are making a decision to change that, and that's the most important thing, okay? Because we all start there at a certain point. Now, number 2, guys, is, okay, when it comes to China versus American, they always share that fact to say, for example, well, for every dollar they make, they save about a third. For every dollar we make, we save about like 6 cents, okay? And that is a big deal. But what is the reasoning behind that? And by the way, these are not, for example, concrete facts, but you can see why somebody would do this. And in reality, a lot of it is based on culture, but most importantly, based on necessity, okay? Because, for example, in China, they don't have, for example, a lot of the safety nets that we have today. For example, healthcare, for example, retirement, and a bunch of other things, like education, by the way. And by the way, people always say, oh, American education is so bad. We care about education. Don't you see how much loans we got? Okay, we care about education. The problem is, it's probably not the most effective system. And on top of that, also, you think about, for example, China, and for every 100 girls, there's about 122 boys. Now, that sounds like a crazy ratio, because it basically means as people start to get into adulthood, about 5 in 10 men potentially are going to be left out of marriages, okay? And that's also a big deal. And on top of that, when a country is starting out, for example, from the bottom, because it used to be that China was not that big and powerful before. If you guys don't know that, that's a fact. So when a country is starting from the bottom and they basically make changes and improve the system and they scale it up by having, for example, us to kind of help them out in a sense, they can grow exponentially. But when a country has, for example, a bunch of resources, to have like a massive expansion takes a lot more. It's kind of like, for example, my little company can go from making $1 million to 10 million. And that's, for example, like 10x. But for Apple to go from making billions of dollars a year to like 10 times that, it's a whole different game. So again, put things into perspective. It's not to say that China is perfect or we're perfect. No, we both have things to learn from each other. But let's get down to the principles as far as money-wise that actually helps us a ton if we actually follow them from the Chinese, okay? Now, the very first thing is, guys, okay, being frugal is such a standard over there. And I've had a few, for example, friends of mine that are Chinese. And one thing, and by the way, when I say Chinese, I mean they're from China. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say like anybody that's Asian is Chinese. No, I'm talking about people that are from China, okay? I have friends that are from China. And one thing I see in them, a lot of them, is basically they're very frugal. They tend to be very good with money. And what frugality means is it doesn't mean you're cheap. It doesn't mean you're, for example, you don't spend any money whatsoever. It just means whatever you make, you spend less than what you make. So that way you have money left over to save and to do everything you have to do. But if all you do is make money and spend more than you make, then who exactly are you working for? You know what I mean? Like, I make $1,000 a month, I spend $2,000. Who am I working for? The bank? Or am I working for myself? The answer is you gotta learn how to be frugal, how to spend less money than you actually make. That's number one. It all starts in your habits. And to understand this, obviously, you're gonna need a budget, right? So get a budget. Write down exactly your expenses and your income. What do you need? What don't you need? And how much money do you have left over? If it is negative, you want to fix that. Now, number two is save as much as possible. Jim Carrey has this very powerful quote, which I love. And it's basically, if you're not willing to sacrifice 1 year to live a very average lifestyle in a sense, like not really that cool lifestyle, just so you can live, for example, a better life overall for the rest of your life, then you care way too much about what everyone else thinks. And by the way, when it comes to finance and money and investing, obviously, it's not going to be like, you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to take 1 year and I'm going to basically put my head down. And after that 1 year, I'm going to be rich. Most likely that's not going to happen, okay? The average millionaire is like 58, 57 years old. It takes time to get there, right? But the more efficient we become, we can get there a lot faster. Between 10 to 15 years on average, you can have, for example, no debt, an emergency fund fully funded, a good investment account, and also a paid off home. That's the cool thing. And by the way, I was reading an article that showed once it became legal to own homes in China, you guys remember that stuff? I'm telling you guys, everybody has their things they gotta work on, okay? But once that became legal, guess what? Some people were able to basically go ahead and pay for homes in cash because that's how much savings these people have. And to me, that is awesome. So between 10 to 15 years, you're actually able to have a fully paid off home, to have a fully invested account, to have an emergency fund fully funded, have no debt. And that stuff to me is pretty cool because at that point, if you choose to work, it's because you want to. And you have such a low cost of living where all the money that comes in, you can basically just enjoy it. Whether you have $1 million or $200,000 doesn't matter because you don't need that much money to live the life you want to live. That's the cool thing. People get so stuck on this idea that I need $1 million. No, as long as you have no debt, a fully blown emergency account, a good investment account for retirement, Roth IRA with a 401k mix, and on top of that also a paid off home, your cost of living is so low that you can work at McDonald's and pay all your bills. That's the cool thing. So when you're working a job and making like $3,000, $4,000 a month, but you have very low bills, you're able to spend half your money going on vacations and living the lifestyle you basically want. You don't have to wait until you get to this crazy dollar amount. It's very stupid. Don't wait because you don't know how much time you have left on this earth, okay? Now, number three is pay for things in cash. You know, one thing I've learned is I'm not as smart as I think I am. And if I play the games that a lot of poor people play, eventually I'll be poor myself. Okay, and one thing I've learned is if the average person has $6,000 in credit card debt. People go into crazy debt with this stuff. The interest rate is very high, and you're telling me, Tommy, nah, I used the credit card, paid off every single month, and on top of that, I get 2%. There's no big problem here. And then studies show that basically people that spend on credit spend 18% more. What makes me think I'm supposed to so special? And overall, whether I get 2% or 5%, how is that going to affect, for example, my investment account? You know what I mean? So there's just certain games I don't participate in. And in China, apparently, a lot of people, they tend to use cash. And in China, that had a massive problem because people were just basically not borrowing any money from banks because they were very big on not borrowing money. And that's a good thing in a sense, but it can hurt a country because using a certain amount of leverage can help expand things a lot faster. And it's not as dangerous if you know what you're doing, okay? But the answer is for personal finance, usually you don't need to have all these credit cards. You don't need to worry about this 2%, 3% thing. It's just a lot better. Just, hey, pay in cash, that's it, and you're good to go, okay? Some games is just not worth playing. And the Bible also says the borrower is slave to the lender. And I've been a slave before when I used to owe like $13,000, and all the money I made went straight to that credit card, okay? And it wasn't the best feeling ever, by the way. Now, number 4 is always look for bargains. In the US, bargaining is like this very cheap thing, and it's kind of like looked down upon because the selling model is basically you see the price, that's the price, okay? And that's fine. So we don't have a model that supports that in the US at least because most of the stores, they're not going to sit there and negotiate with you because that's basically not the style and that's not the culture. However, in China, you can always get, for example, a discount because you can negotiate on this, negotiate on that, but that model is slowly changing. So if that model changes, that's fine, but I do have a solution. The solution is just buy things that are used. And you can get, for example, 50% off. For example, if you buy a car that's 3 to 5 years old, that's automatically 50% off. If you buy, for example, a used iPhone, that's automatically like 30, 50% off also. If you buy used things overall, you get to save a lot of money. And also, whether you build a house that's brand new or you buy a used house that needs some, for example, a little bit of work, you can also save a lot of money there too. The answer is look for bargains. Where can you save the most money, okay? And it's not about being cheap. It's about buying quality things. Jim Rohn says this powerful quote, and he says, for example, it's better to have a house with a few treasures than a house filled with trash. Understand that. I'm not telling you have a trash car, have a trash house, have a house filled with a whole bunch of little stupid stuff. I'm telling you, for example, it's okay to have a nice car, to have a nice house, but it's not okay to have these things if you can't afford them. So it's important before you actually get there, you save the money and you do it the right way so you can actually have it without it costing you a good night's rest, okay? Now, number 5, this I actually love. Your salary is not a secret, and on top of that, it's okay to talk about money. I've always thought in some ways, like, you know, a few people that I know that are Chinese, they're very forward with the things and the questions they basically ask. How much money you make, right? How's your job? You know what I mean? I always felt like that was like, why would you ask a person how much money they make? Because in my culture, asking somebody how much money they make is kind of like disrespectful. And the more I learn about money and finance is basically, who said that? Like, who made that stuff up? It's so stupid, right? Because overall, if I tell you how much money I make and you tell me how much money you make, automatically there's an advantage there. Because what if you're underpaid or I'm underpaid or I think I have a massive financial issue, but you have the solution, but you don't know the details, right? So it's very important. Get into the habit. It's okay to share your personal finances with people you trust. You're not going to share it with a random person that you don't know because obviously you might get robbed and, you know, it might not be the best idea, but overall, it's okay to talk about money. Talking about money is super, super important. Lastly, number 6, and the final thing here, which is actually pretty clever, is they usually give people gifts in cash. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I always thought that was like the lowest tier of a gift. If somebody gave you cash, it meant they don't care about you. But to me, the more I researched this when I was reading this article, I was like, wow, this is actually, it makes sense. And by the way, this article that I found it on www.wisebread.com. It's a great article. And I'm going to link it down below if you want more information. But overall, if you think about it, who benefits from me getting you, for example, this physical gift and this and this and this? It's probably like the companies, right? Because they want you to buy physical things so I should spend the money on. But if I give you cash as a gift, this gives you options. You can save it, you can invest it, you can buy whatever you want, you can do whatever you want with this money. But it just kind of feels like because of the culture that we live here, it's kind of like if you give somebody a cash like a gift is just like thoughtless, doesn't take any effort. And I understand that in a sense that if you have like a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, or husband, and you want to give them a gift, you're obviously not gonna give them cash because why give them cash? But I do see this as a big benefit when it comes to like raising kids, right? If you have a kid, or for example, like a nephew or niece, or a brother that needs some help or something like that, giving somebody like a cash option and telling them how money works, what they can do with it, is so cool. Instead of giving them, for example, like a liability, that makes absolutely no sense. The worst type of gifts are gifts that end up costing the person money. For the longest time, I wanted to gift my mom the most expensive car ever. And then I thought about it. Can she afford the maintenance on this car? Can she afford the insurance on this car? Can she afford the extra premium gas on this car? You know what I mean? So you gotta be very careful with the gifts you make and also what they actually mean. But overall, guys, that is it for this video. So there's a lot of things to learn. And one thing I didn't mention until this point is this. As China does become a lot more successful, they are seeing, for example, an increase as far as debt goes, okay? Because guess what? People are not going to start borrowing money to buy houses, and their middle class is slowly rising and rising and rising. And eventually, those things might change the whole like I save a third of my income to I save just like Americans save. But the point is, it's not about America, not about China, not about averages. It is about you and me as individuals. So make sure you do what's best for you and your money, and not what everybody's doing. Okay. And by the way, do me a favor. Don't listen to me. Okay. Go watch another video, go do more research, and then make up your own mind. Don't be a follower, okay? That's one thing. Don't be a follower. Make up your own mind. That's a powerful thing I also learned from another mentor I have, which is Edgar T. Harv. I love that guy, man. But overall, guys, thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe. We have a goal of 500K subscribers, so make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. On top of that, also up here is another video. And over here is my face. Click subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out. Shout out to China.